All right, everyone. We are back with the next episode of the Raiders Rambles. I am Jolt, your chief host of the show. And fortunately, this week we are without our co host Avira. He is at the moment feeling crook, and I wish for him to a quick recovery from whatever ails him. But never fear, we have, as always, our interim host, Noble.
Yeah, good morning, and it's pissing with rain where I am, so yay, winter's here!
Except you're on the wrong side of the world, and I am in the middle of a scorching heat wave.
Gotta
Funny
love a
how
I'd
that
love
works.
to
snowy.
have that.
Yeah, well, I've had friggin' 30 degrees slash borderline 100, or even days out of crossing to the 100 Fahrenheit the past couple of days. So
Toast.
yeah,
That's nice. That's real nice.
I don't know. You maybe if you like to see melted squirrel, sure. Anyways, joining us on the show, Bear Wolf.
Jack
Welcome
full
back.
of all trades, master of absolutely nothing.
Always great to have you on.
Yes, glad to be on.
Mm-hmm.
I came
And
from... Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
and sorry about that, but today coming to our rescue is Gear.
How's it going, fellas? Good to be back.
Well,
Mm-hmm. Have you back on. All right. So I hope yours hasn't been absolutely as chaotic as mine in terms of just life stuff, but amidst all the heat waves and what have you, I hope you find the time to relax and have fun and enjoy the simple things in life, like you, Beowulf. You,
Ish.
if I recall it, you were at the biggest FurCon ever, Midwest Fur Fest.
Yes, sir. 15,547, something like that.
Attendees
Holy
over the span of
crap.
3 days. That is
Yep,
impressive.
there was a lot of people.
It's got to be the biggest one ever, no?
Well, I mean, every year it's the biggest one ever because it's the biggest one ever. And the Anthrocon goes and we're bigger. MFF goes, we're bigger. And they've been doing that since 2018, I think, is when MFF surpassed. But,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they've been
Yep.
doing the back and forth game since 2018. And I don't think that Anthrocon is going to be able to squeeze out 15,000.
At that point, no.
I don't think they got the room for it, no? Or
The problem is that, like, I know MFF is starting to kind of reach like a soft ceiling. They're not like absolutely selling every single room in the entire area out, but I mean they're getting up there to where it's getting harder to get rooms because there's so many people all at the same place at the same time.
and that lottery system thing, right?
Yeah, the hotel lottery was crap this year. Like, not even joking. We had a group of 4. 3 of us got in on the room lottery, and we didn't get a room. But I was hearing, chatter that there was single people getting into hotel rooms at the main con hotel, and I'm like, the crap, weighted groups, whatever. I guess not.
So hang on. You just basically buy a ticket and spin the roulette wheel, and if somebody sends you an email, oh yeah, you got a room. That's how that works. You don't. There's
It's you sign up, and the person who you have to have a ticket to sign up to the room lottery, so you have to have registered, and then you can go and have your team, have everyone who's going to stay with you in your room sign up under your name with a special code, and that's supposed to give you extra weight, as in you get more favor to get in to the hotel.
Right, and that applies to like every single hotel in the vicinity of the convention center.
Yeah, they do a room block.
Oh, they're all lotteried? It's not just the main?
Their entire thing is lottery based, but after the lottery
Holy crap.
double book rooms or stuff like that, and everyone actually confirms, and then it opens to general book. Then it opens to registrants who had entered the lottery, didn't get a room, then they can book a room, and then it opens to the general public.
So basically, within 30 seconds, everything's gone.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally was like, the second that they said it was open, or like 5 minutes before, I was hitting the refresh button on my computer because I'm like, I need a room, and there was no rooms at the immediately close hotels, so I had to stay like 2 miles up the road. But MFF does this really, really well. They hire private buses to run 2 dedicated lines to 2 groups of hotels, and there is 2 other hotels that have their own dedicated shuttles that will run you back and forth every 30 minutes. I stayed at one of those hotels that had a private shuttle that was only there and back.
That's kind of like how Furpak did it. They had a shuttle going between the other hotels. It was kind of cool. I mean, it was a pain in the ass because it was every 30 minutes, but
yeah,
it worked out for people.
That was my only thing that I didn't like, was it was every 30 minutes. But other than that, I mean, it was overall pretty good. There was some issues like there is every year, but it's nothing that
right. I mean, some issues are more pronounced at Midwest Surface than at other smaller cons, and I get that, such as the registration line.
Oh no, registration.
I mean, the fact you got 15,000 people.
Registration this year was incredible. They peaked. Their peak was 1,700 people in an hour.
They registered 1,700 people
in an hour. That was their peak that they reached. So
that's incredible.
Were getting their badges and getting to go into the con. Like
that's nuts.
They're getting registration down pat. Like that's not a problem anymore. I remember like 2018, it was several dozen hours to get in through the registration line. And this year it was like 2.5 hours,
and then but you had the benefit of being the upper class.
Yeah, I was an upper class citizen, but even
so then, what were you, super sponsor or something?
I was a sponsor.
Okay.
And of course, there was the MFF had its usual problem of there was at least 5 ambulances a day.
Wouldn't be a fuck on
that's normal with that many people. That's normal. All the young furries that don't drink, they have 2 beers and then they end up on their ass. That sounds about right.
There was a lot more hard substances from what I heard.
Oh Jesus! Okay, well that's even worse.
Like lots of illicit substances were there.
That's even worse.
Well, they say that makes the party better, but is it worth it? Well,
yeah. Still. The elevators started breaking down.
Okay, that's normal for a con.
It's end of the year. Maintenance has been put off because they want to wait till this thing's over and people got trapped in elevators.
Yeah, I saw that. The 2x4 sticking out. Yeah, I saw that.
That happened multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yes, that was not just a once-off. There was that happened several times. I think it happened 3 or 4 times during the con. I heard a fire alarm was pulled, but I was not aware of anything at the main hotel. So I don't know if one actually did happen. The Walkway of Doom was the Walkway of Doom. It wasn't an Inferno this year.
Right, the Sky Bridge.
Yeah, the Sky Bridge.
Yes, they were talking about.
So there's a lot of trash in there, though. I saw that too.
Yeah. Well, I am obliged to share a Skybridge meme, and people have lost their minds over it.
Oh boy!
Oh yeah, the AI picture.
This is it.
Yeah, I'd watch that movie. I would totally watch that movie.
Though I will say this: the heaters were not on, except when you got close to either end. The heaters were on. Other than that, it was cool the whole way across the Sky Bridge.
Okay, so it wasn't 2,000 degrees like it normally is up there.
No, it was actually very pleasant to walk across there. But I was watching. Someone posted. They're like, they bought some expensive CO2 monitor and were like, look at how high the levels of CO2 are in here, and it's like, yeah. But yeah, it was like way above safe working conditions for area.
Right.
But you're not intended to stay in the sky bridge.
No.
Dealer's Den was enormous this year.
I mean, yeah, you've got a lot of people selling merchandise, art, commissions, everything else, what have you.
Yeah.
But then I heard everybody complaining about they gave up dealer spots for everyday stuff.
I saw one like Pokemon plushie seller, like Japanese goods seller booth. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was enormous. It was probably 6-7 tables long. But then it's like nobody talks about the Japanese car seller or importer. Nobody talks about the board game seller. It's like the only picture I see is of the Japanese good reseller, like the Japanese Pokemon plushie seller. That's the only picture I see of that. Nobody talks
They were
about
selling cars at the con.
There was a Japanese car importer at the con.
I saw that one too. Yes.
So now we're selling cars at a fur con. Oh my god!
Micro cars at a fur con.
Oh my god! What were they selling? Those little pickup trucks or what?
Yeah, that's exactly what they were selling. They were selling that and like
a little city car that's tailored for Japanese roads and stuff, selling it in the US. But the point still stands. They're bringing their cars into the dealer's room, and
it's like, why are you mad about the plushie seller? When you
I thought a fur con was supposed to be all the artists, all the furry artists and painters and little knickknacks and fursuits and stuff like that.
I go back and forth on this because it's like if you don't support them, they're not going to come. They're obviously getting enough support that this is worthwhile to them. So it's like you're literally causing this yourself, because there wasn't a time that I didn't see someone. Well, I wasn't in the dealer's den very often because it was sensory overload. It was just so loud in there.
Yeah, and you're probably better off spending your time rather than shopping around buying stuff.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Cool. I dropped a crap load of money in the dealer's den.
Oh yeah, as you would typically would.
But I also spent money in the artist alley, because that's where some of the bigger names were. Surprisingly, they weren't in the dealer's den; they were in the artist alley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else there was. I don't know.
I mean, apart from that, you had the panels. You had I hear the line to the dance competition was just super duper, really long. I mean,
I don't bother with dance comp at MFF since I got kind of burned at MFF over that, and I'm like, whatever. I don't really care. I don't care to watch the dance comp because it's people who have danced at 70 other conventions, and it's like, whatever. But
it's the same thing over and over again, right?
Everything was line con. I mean, everything was a line to get somewhere.
Yeah, that's what my experience, even in MFF back in 2015. Like, there was considerable lines to be in the dance comp crowd, to be in the crowd for special events and panels and what have you. And there you go.
Yeah, and, I mean, for opening ceremonies, there was 3 different lines. There was the Shinies line, there was the sponsor line, and there was the peasant line.
I figured that'd be the
peasant line.
You peasants get to get seated after all of we do, and
yes.
Like there was a lot of sponsors. There was like probably 1,000 sponsors. It felt like.
It's like you could sit there and you get in an argument about it.
Every time I went into a sponsor line, it just kept growing and growing, and it's like, how many freaking sponsors actually are there? But
I like that. It's like all this con is a freaking line. A line to get in, a line to get out, a line to go to the bathroom, a line to do a line in the bathroom.
Surprisingly, that's what I felt like for a lot of it, other than panels. The panel,
That's what I just said. That's what I just said. That's what I mean.
Other than panels, like the smaller panels, there weren't lines to get in. But if you were going to main stage events, yeah, you're waiting in a line.
My
Kind of like
experience
a pop-up
exactly.
theme park these days.
Line con.
Yeah,
I
it
mean-
was furry theme park, frickin'. Yeah, and other than having it matched by an anonymous donator, this is the most that it was the most that MFF had donated to a single
Right. I
to
hear they've
charity.
donated a six-figure sum.
It's Monday, or it was Sunday night. It was $187,000 and change.
That's insane.
Yeah, and from an attendance number of like 15,000 people.
Yeah, you're talking that's like $100
Big money.
per person.
Yeah, big money to a charity. That's awesome.
Yeah.
They must love the furry fandom now.
Well, I mean, it was a very good charity because it basically it was the charity was they go and they help basically pay for people's medical bills for their animals if their animal gets cancer.
Oh hell yeah, it's a fucking great charity.
And it was created because the person who created it, they fostered then adopted a dog that got cancer and passed away from it, so they created this charity. And I mean, they said they don't care if it's a horse, a cat, a dog, a gerbil, whatever. They basically give out like a grant or something to help you pay for the medical bill.
Yeah. God knows in today's day and age, I can't afford it. I got 3 cats and I got a dog. You know,
yeah,
something happens to one of them. Geez, I'm the shit.
$30,000 grants, $40,000 grants away, and it's like, man, I support this.
Absolutely. The one that I used to like was the one that A&E had.
Yeah,
the Vesta dog. I donated a lot of money to that because I thought it was cool. I actually have a picture of me. I'm holding a little German Shepherd and this like cardboard cutout that said I donated to Vesta dog. I gave the officer that was there. I think what did I hand her? I think I handed her $200. I'm just like, you know, what the hell? Yeah, of course, keep the dog safe. What's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Put a vest on that dog.
Next thing I wanted to ask, while we're still on with the first Midwest Fur Fest, do they scrap the parade these days because it's logistically impossible to do so?
Oh, they haven't done the parade in several years. They don't even do the menagerie anymore. Like they used to get all the fursuiters basically into the main ballroom, and they'd have different group shoots and stuff. And they didn't do that this year either. So I'm guessing they don't do the parade. They don't do any of that stuff.
So instead, it's just become like a wander around and suit at your own pleasure sort of con.
Yeah,
like
basically, you know, hey, I'm gonna go and meet up with, you know, this maker's holding their own meat, or this someone's coming and meeting up, and we're gonna do a photo shoot of all canines here or there or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a live comment that unfortunately I did see some of.
Right.
There was several things I did not necessarily approve of going on. There was a lot of pup hoods and latex wear, and they weren't listening to con staff, and it was being worn outside of after dark hours and stuff.
I was gonna bring that up too. I'm glad you mentioned that.
And
I wasn't there, but I've seen all the stuff on Twitter and stuff like that. So I was gonna bring that up too.
And I get it. People are gonna do it. People are gonna do whatever they really feel like doing. But it's gotten to a point where an Artemis Wishfoot made a point on this that was like, okay, cons need to make a choice, either be family friendly and enforce their rules, or go 18 plus. And
Yeah.
MFF
That's
needs to
what
go
I was-
18 plus with just how
That's what I was just gonna say. I personally think every FurCon should be not even 18 plus. It should be 21 plus. If you're not old enough to drink, you shouldn't be there. I didn't get involved in this until I was 21. I just personally think if you're not old enough to drink, you shouldn't be there. Period. It's not. This is not a bunch of mascots running around. This is not a place for kids. This is a place for us to enjoy ourselves. That's what it is. And if you did that, then guess what? Since you have 15,000 people, you have every hotel rented out. You can simply, if somebody walks up to the door, no, get out of here.
Yeah, but that's just, kind of how things have gotten, and it's just not.
The problem is we're too mainstream. That's the problem.
Well, there's too
I
much
was a furry
gear
before.
that people wear. And
Right, but I was a furry before furry was cool.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh my
All right,
God. Okay, hipster. Okay, hipster.
The thing is that cons really need to set rules and boundaries on what is and isn't allowed.
And they need to enforce them is the biggest thing.
Right, but they don't though, right? They didn't throw these people out, right?
No.
The problem is the ability to enforce the rules. Now, it sounds like that the people who were showing up in diapers and all that were doing it outside of their jurisdiction, which means the only thing they could do is contact the police. The other thing is whether or not it's going to be worthwhile hiring security to be able to manage this sort of thing as well.
Well, whatever happened to the old school door side, it would freaking throw you out for.
That's an African thing, mainly, I believe.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying. I use that as an example.
Right.
Where are they? You got 15,000 people. You don't have a security crew.
I think that there was some burned bridges with people. And the door side basically said, "We're not going to deal with this." But yeah, the biggest problem is enforcing it, how to enforce it, what limitations you have to do, because furries are rule benders. They're going to find some way to wiggle around a rule if they want to.
I mean, if it's right there in the rules that, okay, you can't, and I mean, I'm not part of any of this. I just run around in a fursuit. I mean, yeah, I have a little small bulldog harness that I always wear, but that's part of my character. But whatever. That's not bothering anybody. The point is, if you're going to run around, you're going to be in like a leather outfit or whatever that stuff is. If the rule says you can't do that until 9 o'clock, then if you're out there at 8:30, then somebody should be able to walk up to you and be like, get out of this or get out of here until 9 o'clock. And if I see you again, your ass is out of here. Simple as that.
Anyway,
so in the Raiders chat, someone's finding it a little difficult to comprehend just the sheer number of people that are at the con. What was it like? Almost 2,000 or 20,000?
You said earlier 15,000.
There was 15,547 official attendees, and there's I think there's 1,000 staff that's not counted, and that doesn't count dealers either. That counts attendees.
All right,
and
so
those account the other random people that are there.
You were looking at about 3,000 to 4,000 people in one location.
Minimum. Bare absolute minimum. I bet at the brunch or when there was big main event stuff going on, there was 5,000-6,000 people. Like the raves, I bet the raves were between 4,000 and 6,000 people every night.
Oh, easy. That just become a giant mosh pit.
That ballroom, the main ballroom that they hold stuff at, the Hyatt, you could literally park 2 semi-tractor trailers back to back, and it wouldn't be anywhere near the walls.
There's that many people in the rave.
Yeah, the rave, like I have one picture that I saw on social media that I took, and it was like I didn't take the picture, but one of the DJs took the picture looking out into the room, and all you can see is faces out in the crowd. And
Yeah,
it's like
faces
that
in
is
person.
Holy
It's
crap.
entirely too many people.
It's yeah. Yeah, at that point,
Wow.
it's like, like what are the prospects for growth at that point too, right? But
well, yeah,
that's a
I mean,
problem for
you're
them.
you're starting to reach the capacities of your venue, even. Like,
Yeah.
I know we're not. I know that MFF isn't taking the entirety of the convention center, but I mean, we're taking up more than half of it. So
Yeah, and you were sharing space with a couple of interesting expos as well, like
the
like
Weirdo Con and
yes, the Weirdo Taxidermy Con
and the Adult Pickleball Championship of America or something like that.
Yeah.
And you said yourself, every room was rented.
Yeah, like I noticed there were rooms starting to like dot hotels around the area as we got closer to the con. But the hotels were doing their usual thing of, hey, I'm going to do a 400% markup because people want this room. So
Oh,
yeah,
so
you
now a
could
$200 a night room is $500.
no, a $100 a night room a week before or a week after the.
Still a lot, but yeah. To I guess to finalize this whole big shindig about Midwest Fur Fest, would you like what would you think? Would you actually recommend this con, or is it just become way too chaotic for its own good? Like,
I
to the
heard
point
a
where
lot of people saying this was their first con and they were so happy it was their first con, and I told every single one of them, you just have to realize the expectations that this con puts out, there's not going to be another con that can match that because of that size gap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
if you want that size of convention, you either go to an outdoor event or go try anime comics.
Yeah, that's the only way you're getting anywhere near that. Otherwise, you're going down to 2,000-3,000 people. I mean, you look at BLFC. BLFC is third or fourth in the top 10 furry conventions, and it's like 3,500 people. And it's like
Even that's too many.
That's way down from 15,000. You have two cons that just dominate the top title of biggest fur
attendance.
con.
Yeah, by that.
And you're not going to beat that. You're not going to beat the names they have. You're not going to beat the number of panels they have. It's impossible to have lower expectations.
My thing is those. I obviously I've never been to those big cons, but at the time it's like I would prefer to have 1,800 people or even
Right.
6 people. So you get to hang out with people. You get to shoot the shit. You get to talk. You get to know people. You're not going to do that if there's 15,000 people. You're every which way, which is what happened to me at Furbach this year. You're drug every which way because you're running into people you haven't seen. And let me go talk to this guy.
Yeah, and I get that too. It's like it's a matter of attention and all that, but that's a whole number of thing, and that's a whole can of worms, the experience. Because, like you said, like in an experience of like 15,000, all your attention is dominated by all these panels. Like, which panel do I want to go to, etc., etc. It's a sensory overload.
There's too much going on at once.
Yeah.
I made the mistake in 2018 of booking myself back to back of panels, and I got burnt out. This year, I made sure I had plenty of time between panels, and it was a lot more fun because you just have to realize, okay, I need time between this and that. I need time between this and that. I'm going to not pack my schedule completely full. I'm going to leave a few hours here and there to go fursuiting or to catch up with friends or to go play a board game.
That's what I was just going to ask you. It's like, yeah, okay, do you fursuit? It's like, when the hell do you go fursuiting,
Yeah, I basically took an afternoon and I said, okay, there's nothing that particularly piques my interest, I'm taking the entire afternoon off and I'm going to fursuit, which I didn't because the convention space is so hot.
Yeah, claustrophobic, hot, whatever you want to name it, and
Yeah, well, with that many people, Jesus, even if they had the air conditioning running, it's probably 200 degrees in there with that many people.
I mean, I think it probably averaged upper 80s in most convention space.
still.
Oh my god!
And it's just
Yeah,
in Chicago. I don't know what it is about Chicago.
it's
I-
dry and windy.
I
and,
literally, well, no, this year it rained 3 of the 5 days I was there.
Oof, yeah.
But
And the snow hasn't
I
rolled up.
literally get into my fursuit and just start sweating immediately, and it's like, why?
Nice humid. That's probably why.
That was the mistake. That was the mistake I made at Fur Park. I was out of practice. I hadn't been to a con, since the last Fur Park.
No,
And I went to Fur Park, and I remember I came down out of the room, and I went down in there, and I wasn't down in the lobby 10 minutes, and I thought I was going to die
right.
because I was out of practice. It's not like I hadn't had my fursuit on since then, but it was just like not in that setting. And it took me
shoulder to shoulder with 6,000 other people.
Yeah, it took me a day. It took me a day to get back to where I was,
Logistically, I think MFS is reaching the upper limits of what they're able to do.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I don't, unless they change venues, which they haven't
Where are
done.
you going to find a bigger place?
I looked.
Probably.
I specifically looked, and it was like MFF has been at the same spot for almost like 15 years, I think is what it was. They've been at the same hotel.
Yeah, the Hyatt Regency O'Hare in Rosemont.
Yeah.
And basically now the only place they can really go is outdoors at that point if they want to scale up.
Well, I mean, they can go further into Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago proper, downtown.
That's their only option.
Right.
Because they're just so big now.
Yeah.
But further in Chicago, do they have a bigger area that would support that many people?
Yeah, there's a convention center. There's another convention center. Someone I was talking to actually had this exact conversation. They're like, yeah, just like 2 miles up the road, there's a better spot that we could hold this.
Right. So with that, let's move towards the next item that we've got. All right. Now here's a bit of an interesting case, like in the modern era and why some of the old ways are the best. Okay. Now, in further making the case for physical media, Sony announces PlayStation users will soon lose access to legally purchased Discovery Channel content.
See, this website to me, and whoever made this post obviously never read anything of their contract that's like the terms and service of their Discovery Plus or PlayStation Online or whatever you want to call it. Because if you look at Steam and stuff, you don't own shit. You own a code.
Yeah, a
That's
license.
all you own. And they can revoke that at any time. You own nothing and you will be happy with it.
Right. And that's pretty much the saga line of what it is to live in the modern era. You're just basically like an eternal renter or something like that.
You own nothing and you will be happy.
You get nothing and like it.
Yep, like whatever you thought you owned in the clouds. Nope.
Out of curiosity, now because I haven't really paid attention to this, are they referring to content that's already been downloaded? Does PlayStation allow you to store this material locally?
Right. If you download it onto your PlayStation's hard drive, or in some cases you stream it. Like with games, the games will get downloaded onto your PlayStation hard drive. They're installed.
But they can go and be like, oh, you don't have that license. You don't have the license authenticated anymore. Guess what? You can't play that.
So really, in this case, with the licensing issues that the Discovery Channel was hit, like as of 31st of December 2023, due to our content licensing arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library.
Yes, you own the license. The company that sold you that license no longer owns the license. You no longer can do anything with your license. I think people will eventually be like, hey, why is this happening? But, it's going to take a lot longer, and companies are going to have that death grip on everybody like they already do.
So I haven't checked iTunes's terms of service recently, but what will happen is that material can be removed from the iTunes store itself. If, however, it's on your device or on your computer, you can still watch it. But once, say, for instance, the file becomes corrupt, or you lose that computer and you don't back up your library,
it's gone forever.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
Now there was another service
Yeah.
that existed that tried to distribute movies. So you buy a digital license. That went belly up, and I was never able to either contact staff or download an English copy of the movie, which just really pissed me off. So when it comes to digital content, treat it as if it's temporary. Never, like Bayo said before, you don't own this. You just have the rights to use it.
So it's rented.
Yep.
And this is why things like having local copies of digital stuff, you buy a thing off iTunes, and then you download it, you save it on your local drive, and you keep it more or less. Or you buy games like from GOG.com, which you own as DRM free, as a viable alternative, which is a better case.
There are some questionable tools out there where if you buy something on iTunes, you can remove the DRM, so it's then DRM free, but that is very questionable sort of behavior.
Yeah.
That's versus, going full on torrenting.
Yeah. I mean, that's a thing we'll get into next, but I mean, in a way, the whole Discovery thing may have been an affected issue because they just recently merged with Warner Brothers. So, I mean, take that for what you will, but it's one of those things. But I think you're right, Noble. You've got really two options if you really want to keep your digital copies. You've got either torrenting or, singing sea shanties.
If you really want to, I spent $120 recently when there was a sale and bought myself a 4 terabyte hard drive. Please tell me how you're going to fill that up with movies. Please.
You don't, right? Digital, you've only, it's capacity limited, and even then, you've got to rotate out the physical drives.
Well, if you're smart, for instance. So, for instance, myself, anything 4K is too big. I can't play it back on any of the devices I have. So 1080p is perfect. 720p is fine. That file size is quite small. So you can fit a shit ton more on there if you just do things properly. But that does require understanding how to convert videos, how to access materials. Most people don't have the time for that.
Talking a foreign language to me.
But really, I think this has, in a way, there's another tangential argument that can also be said about the whole removal of digital files, and that's archive for having the files for archival purposes and preservation. And it's at this point, go ahead.
Sorry, archive.org. Go to that website and look up anything that you want. It's got a search option, so if you can't use Google,
but we're talking
help.
about multimedia, entertainment, games, music, all that stuff.
Oh, that shit's all on there.
All right.
But if you paid for it, technically you should be able to get it. Okay, your computer crapped out. You already paid for it, so you should be able to download it again. No.
Not if they say that your license is invalid.
So, what
Well, license. I already paid for it. I own it, don't I?
most people make that assumption. Most people fail to realize is that there's always terms and conditions. It's the same as if you rent a house or a property. While you do have rights to that, particular spot, because you're renting it, there are still limitations on what you can and can't do. For instance, myself, I'm in public housing. I can't run a business here. I'm not allowed to do that. If I was to run a business, I'd have to be, one, extremely careful with what I do on site, and two, I'd be better off having a van and doing stuff on site. But in general, running a business, no, I'm not allowed to have pets. Now, someone may rent this in the same building through a different company, and they may allow pets, at which point I'm screwed, but the other person is fine. It's the same as if someone has a PlayStation versus a PC. I mean, yeah, there are things you can quote unquote do, but the other person can't.
Okay. All right, I get that.
I mean,
Yeah.
and like with how the PlayStation deal's actually going, as it said in the article, it's because that license was bought by someone else. Therefore, the original person who sold you it no longer owns it. So you bought it from, it's like trying to, let's say you bought something from, let's say, Circuit City. Circuit City no longer exists.
I remember Circuit City. I bought my first fucking flat screen from them.
Circuit City no longer exists. You can't get warranty support through Circuit City.
No, that was PC Richardson's son.
So you're hosed, is what it boils down to. You gave money to someone who no longer owns what you say that you own and can prove that you own, but that doesn't matter because, hey, guess what? I changed a 1 from a 0. Your stuff doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. So now, since you bought a license to use that stuff from the Discovery Channel, and that it got taken over, bought out by Warner Brothers, now it's just become like a massive kerfuffle. If you want the license back, it's a total head case to go through. But realistically, as I was saying, with the whole, with there being an argument for like archival and stuff, this begs the question: is piracy like a sort of necessary evil to the archival of entertainment stuff for the generations to come?
So for the video game industry, that is actually true. And the fun part is that some game companies that have the rights to certain games, but they don't have the source code anymore, end up relying on cracks in order to redistribute their games. It's happened even on Steam.
Right. What with the whole, Rockstar selling crack versions of their own games.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, isn't Steam like majorly locked down? Like
Yes,
you couldn't do that if
you're thinking on the player's side. You're not thinking on the corporation side. They still have to get the game somehow. And if the only way they can distribute a, re-release of a game is by applying a crack that's freely available to download off the internet, that's what they have to do. And then people basically call them out on it, and it's absolutely hilarious.
I remember something when I was a kid. It was something called Game Drive, and it was like a this thing you could install, and then all of a sudden you were able to get all kinds of games. I remember that because they were all listed on this thing, and it was something that I downloaded off BitTorrent or something. But you were able to get anything you wanted, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
whatever you wanted.
I mean,
that was I think how I got Half-Life. Yeah, I got Half-Life that way, and Counter-Strike. I never paid for those.
I do feel that unfortunately, with how modern corporations do their stuff, I feel that torrenting and pirating is unfortunately a necessary evil.
Yeah.
And if companies are gonna have their stuff get wiped out by a merger or by something else, as for a preservation method as well, yeah, I feel it's a necessary evil.
Yeah. And
So when you say that, pirating and stuff like that, is that the same as like all of us did back in the day with like the LimeWire and stuff like that?
Oh, I used the crap out of
LimeWire.
LimeWire. Granted,
LimeWire, Aries, or whatever it was when we all got music off of it or something.
if you weren't
I
really
used-
careful, you got viruses.
right.
I used to work at a computer shop. I wasn't paid, but the business used to make shit tons of money thanks to Napster and LimeWire.
Yeah.
See, I was too young for Napster, but I remember downloading off of LimeWire and I remember downloading off the other one called, I believe it was called Aries. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. But it's like the same thing.
But
Like,
that was before BitTorrent.
Bit, I forget when they came out. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, as I was kind of say this though, like it's kind of akin to like piracy is kind of akin to like going to the Pirate Bay and then just looking for a torrent and it's downloading or whatever have you. So, but yes, I do have to agree. Like if they become too if businesses and what have you have become too restrictive with that sort of thing with the deals and that, then yeah, looks like piracy is pretty much the way to go. Piracy, emulation, and
for a lot of
Right.
things, archive.org does already have uploads for it. I found plenty of old cartoons, books. There are video games. There are songs even up there. There's manuals.
yeah,
I found a lot of people don't know about that website and they don't
Right.
ever bother checking it.
right. And
Yeah, now you bring that up. The one that sold all the ROMs for the N64 games, right?
yeah, and
No,
That was
Nintendo,
a
not the
whole
same
nother
site.
thing.
yeah, emulation pretty much, and that's Nintendo pretty much is got to stick up their ass about it.
Yeah, because I remember one of my buddies showed me. He's like, "Hey, man, you gonna play GoldenEye for 64? Watch this." And he types it up on the computer and does it, and then bang, here it is. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Now, but that's pretty much what I guess where we're headed to. The whole let's just say that the whole we basically live like in a subscriber world of sorts, and it's like we've said, you will own nothing and be happy.
My concern is that a lot of people are going to blame Sony over this. And while, yes, they do hold some of the blame itself, first off, people should
The
be upset
main
about the
problem.
contracts, but you should also take a look at the parent companies behind the actual whole thing.
Oh, the guys behind the curtains. Okay.
No, so who bought out Discovery?
That'd be Warner Brothers.
Did Warner Brothers cancel the deal?
Not sure. I think it's just the whole like they probably it was a licensing mishap sort of thing that kind of caused it to happen, I guess. So So I would say it's just more like I would say it's a communication between those two, like who can if the licenses could even be restored, if at all. So I guess there is that. But really, I think you know what I am gonna have to say once more time, like my favorite 3 words: return to monkey. Get yourself physical copies of the stuff that you own.
If you can, that's the problem. That's the hard part anymore, is getting actual physical
if you
copies
can,
of stuff.
right?
So you can't go buy physical copies of games anymore?
You still can. Oh, you still can.
It is
Like,
very hard.
DVDs, games, books, all that stuff. If you can, then preferably buy physical. Buy the tangible object. It is yours and yours, through and through. But yeah. But if not, then purchase digital copies that you can locally have on your digital storage system on your drive. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, aside from that, we have one more item to go through with on the show. Yes, it's the game that everybody and their mother seems to be really, really hyped about.
And incredibly mad.
Yes.
So, how many times has this happened so far with this particular game? What is it, like 5 times now?
Yes, like they kept saying, "Oh, okay, it's coming soon. We may have news to share," and then no, they suffered leaks, and then now it's finally here. So, I mean, I won't be playing it with the sound on, but yes, they finally did it. They finally launched the trailer. And so how many of you have actually watched the trailer firsthand?
I watched it a
haven't.
bit ago.
Yeah, I managed to watch it, and like of things, it's more like of course, yeah, it's showing us that this is the world that Grand Theft Auto 6 is inhibiting in.
Now, didn't they go back to the first city that they used?
Vice City, that's what the popular thing of showing.
Oh, Vice
Yeah,
City.
from 2002, and now they've given it a new up for 2023.
I'm a big Grand Theft Auto fan. I always was. So it's like when this popped up, it was like, oh hell yeah, And I started playing. I started playing Grand Theft Auto when it was the original Grand Theft Auto, and it was the overhead, little whatever. I played it before. Like most people think Grand Theft Auto, it's like Grand Theft Auto 3. It's like no, I started with the original Grand Theft Auto.
Right, and like when you look at this trailer, like what goes through your mind? What do you think of it? Like
Pretty.
The graphics are insane. I mean, I don't have any of these systems. I don't do any of this. I don't play video games anymore. But it's like I might have to go spend a whole ton of money and go ahead and get something so I can play this because this just looks badass.
Has the specs, the like minimum requirements?
No,
been
It's
released
not
yet?
coming. It's not coming out until 2025. The specs aren't going to release until the end of 2024, and it's not even coming out for PC. They only announced it for consoles.
Right, like I'm definitely not playing it on a computer because I don't have a computer to screw around with it. But it's like like I'll go buy a freaking Xbox or a PlayStation, whatever it's going to be on. I'll go buy that just to play this, just because it's Grand Theft Auto. It was like those were like my favorite games ever. It's like screw around with an Xbox. It's like I just want to play Halo.
It looks like someone spent a lot of time in Florida.
That's precisely it.
It's Vice City.
Vice City is based on Florida. If you've ever played that game,
Yeah,
it was released in 2002.
All the cars look like they're based off of real cars, which is awesome.
Yes. Not to mention, they're basically intent on releasing a lot of references to Florida in Grand Theft Auto 6. That's why everybody.
If you really think about it, they've had how long to learn about it? They've developed another game that they can implement stuff from to add into it. I mean, you're talking this game should be like all GTAs, an entirely another level.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 or 4 or whichever one it was had a hell of a storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the story is going to be meh because they're going to focus on the online aspect where they can make oodles and oodles of money.
I don't know. The story of GTA 5 was pretty awesome, and I remember I played that.
And
but that was 15 years ago.
So I'm curious, what's this controversial part about paying to play now?
Right, the whole Grand Theft Auto 6 I mean, we remember we talked about past episodes that play to play like by the hour, rather than you own the game, you pay for it once, you can play it, and you play for as long as you want. Rockstar thought about charging it by the hour. But at
Yeah,
that
I don't
point,
think gaming's quite to that point yet, but I can see that being around the corner.
Right.
Well, think about how many hours I spent playing that. I mean, they'd make a lot of money off of that.
Yeah,
they
but
would, no doubt.
that's the thing. We're still in the you buy it once, you own it until you do something stupid and get banned.
Yeah.
But if they go to a pay as you play, they're going to earn more money, which is why I think they were thinking about it, but the technology to allow that kind of thing to happen isn't there yet. It's close. I could see that happening within the next decade. I could see us having libraries of pay to play games.
So
Can you imagine
for me,
that?
when I
You played this game for how many hours this month and your father's freaking out? Oh my god.
I can understand if they're going to give this game away for free and only have it digitally. Because if they're going to charge people,
you can't do hard copies if you're going to do a pay to play.
if they're going to have give out a hard copy and then charge people to actually play it, there have been experiments where companies have tried this sort of thing before, and it's basically fallen flat on its face. There's an early DVD player that would play a special disc, but you could only do it with an active telephone service. Yeah, that didn't last very long.
Right. And I mean, and to say nothing about everything else, though, did you guys actually think, like you look at this, everyone, let's look at this from like the perspective of everybody, who's really wanting Grand Theft Auto 6. Like, do you think this trailer was actually worth the waiting and the hype?
No.
No, it didn't give me the fizz. I mean, it's cool, but it didn't give me the fizz.
They gave too little information about anything. They give you little tiny glimpses, little tiny snapshots, little tiny samples of kind of everything, and it's not enough to satisfy that itch. Of course, there will be more, but it's just not enough for
what was
right off the rip. No.
The most looked sought after game in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a quick snapshot. That's about it.
Pretty much. And I mean, yes, it's pretty. Like, it really feels like, I get it. Like, it's pretty. It feels like the world is alive. It captures the character of Florida so damn well, and that's pretty much what we're left with. We got,
Yeah, but they didn't have sanctimonious in the front of it. That's what they should have done.
What I think they should have released was actual gameplay and not trailer material.
Yeah,
exactly.
That would have probably set better.
Yeah, but that's probably coming, right? The next couple of fucking months, weeks, whatever.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
If you're going to have to pay to play it, you will have individuals who are definitely going to jump on there, but I don't believe they're going to get as much activity as they'd probably be expecting.
No, it has to be, time payment or free. Otherwise, people aren't going to be interested.
2020's come and gone, so unfortunately, people still have to go out and work. Whoops.
Yep. Yeah, we gotta work. But
you gotta work to play Grand Theft Auto 6. Sorry.
Yeah, really. I gotta work fucking 55 hours a week so I can play GTA for 3 hours when I come home from work.
Yeah, but
it's $25 an hour. Yeah,
but you also got to factor in all the other overhead costs, like the power bill and internet, PlayStation Plus, Xbox.
Oh, they don't care. They don't care about that. They want $25 an hour so you can play their game.
Yeah, fuck that.
So forget about just driving around aimlessly and running people over. No, those days are gone. Like, no, you gotta play the missions.
I would actually even prefer to subscribe to GTA 6 at that point. You know, like World of Warcraft.
Well, I quit that 13 years ago. I'm done with that.
But
That game almost freaking ruined my life. I'll never do that again.
So, but what do you feel at the moment? Like, is it you feel a bit more, now that they finally came out with something more tangibly official, you feel a bit more optimistic about the game?
No,
Not really.
I've seen enough GTA launches in my lifetime to know that they're gonna pile drive into the ground with their face, and then it's gonna be okay in 2 to 4 years afterwards.
Right.
All I know is because I'm a fan, I'm looking forward to it. That's my thing. Because I'm a fan. You know.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Now, in any case like this, I believe that's all the time we've got for the week. Tuning in. Who'd like to wrap up this week with quick closing statement?
MFF was great. You don't own anything, so rent and be happy. And GTA 6 is coming.
That pretty much sounds like about it.
I'll back that up. You get nothing and like it.
Yeah, unless you, of course, have the tangible stuff that they're trying to get rid of.
As I said in the Raiders chat, MMF is basically Disney World now.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Just remember, try to learn about computers just a wee bit more than you should, and have fun.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you'll be able to play the latest GTA game on your phone.
much.
They charge you like three times the price.
Phone. What are you
They
talking
did
about?
that. They did that once, didn't they, with the PSP?
It'll be freaking downloaded to your neural link. What are you talking
at that
about,
point, you
phone?
just basically play it off of your brain. Exactly.
We had to wait 12 years for freaking the next one.
Yeah, and then you just basically.
We can't rush into these things.
And then after that, you just basically like tap your own brain and said, I want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. Bam. There you go.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Just don't forget, like at this point, I would say the most crucial point, the point of evidence, or well, the most crucial piece of advice, if anything, I might have to impart to you is keep your physical books, your cash money, your discs with you. Carry them as far as they can go.
Yeah, the other thing is store them properly. I mean,
Yes.
I've suffered from disc rot myself, so fun.
Yeah. That's the thing. All right. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this as much as we did making this show. Made this work. As always, our episodes are available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Player.fm, iHeartRadio, BitChute, and more further down the line. All right. This is us signing off for the week. Farewell, and until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.